Wrong way Taconic crash. On July 26, 2009, Diane Schuler was driving a red Ford Windstar minivan on New York's Taconic State Parkway with 5 children inside. She was 36 years old, a Long Island mother everyone described as responsible. That morning, Diane had left Hunter Lake Campground with her son, daughter, and 3 nieces. Over the next hours, witnesses reported aggressive driving. She tailgated cars. She flashed headlights. At one point, she was seen vomiting on the roadside. Then came the phone call. Her brother told her to pull over. Instead, Diane entered the parkway through an exit ramp. She drove past 2 "Do Not Enter" signs. She traveled 1.7 miles in the northbound passing lane at 85 miles per hour. She was going the wrong way. She collided head-on with a Chevrolet Trailblazer. The minivan burst into flames. 8 people died instantly. Only her 5-year-old son survived with severe injuries. Toxicology revealed a blood alcohol content of 0.19, more than double the legal limit. But there was something else. Her THC level measured 113 nanograms per milliliter. Experts testified she had smoked marijuana within an hour of the crash. A broken Absolute vodka bottle was found near the driver's seat. The case became an HBO documentary and remains the most infamous cannabis and alcohol driving death in American history. Spring Break Cookie. On March 11, 2014, 19-year-old Levi Thamba Pongi and his friends from Northwest College wanted to try cannabis for the first time. A friend purchased Sweetgrass Kitchen marijuana cookies. The clerk gave clear instructions. Split each cookie into 6 pieces. Eat only 1 piece. Wait at least an hour. Each cookie contained 65 milligrams of THC. The group followed directions initially. Thamba felt nothing after an hour. Frustrated, he consumed an entire cookie, more than 6 times the recommended dose. Within 30 minutes, everything changed. Thamba began speaking erratically in French. He shook violently. He screamed and threw objects. His friends tried to restrain him. He settled briefly. Then he suddenly leaped from the bed, rushed to the balcony, and jumped over the 4th-floor railing. He fell into the hotel lobby. Paramedics arrived within minutes. Levi Thamba Pongi died from traumatic injuries. He was 19 years old. The autopsy found marijuana intoxication as a significant contributing factor. Toxicologists tested for more than 250 substances. Only THC was detected. Denver police ruled the death accidental. The case became the first marijuana edible-linked death in Colorado since legalization and triggered statewide reforms to edible labeling laws. CHS Newlywed Death. On September 3, 2019, the 27-year-old from Sedro-Woolley, Washington, was found dead. His wife Elizabeth discovered him when she returned from work. Brandon had been married 3 years. They were months from their honeymoon, planning to buy their first house. But for years, Brandon suffered recurring bouts of severe nausea and vomiting. He was a heavy user of cannabis concentrates, dabs, shatter, vapes. Doctors eventually identified cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. Hot baths provided minimal relief. He couldn't keep food down. He visited emergency rooms multiple times for severe dehydration. That morning, Brandon was getting ready for work when he had a seizure. His organs were shutting down from dehydration caused by relentless vomiting. Elizabeth found him hours later. He was dead. His death certificate listed cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome as the cause, specifically hyponatremia, cerebral edema, pulmonary edema, acute kidney injury, and seizures. His father spoke out afterward. He smoked a lot of weed, but it was the concentrates. Hundreds attended his memorial service. It was standing room only. By the way, if you find this informative, I cover stories like these regularly. Consider subscribing if you'd like to see more. Thanks. I-880 Freeway Massacre. Tuesday evening, May 15th, 2018. Northbound Interstate 880 in Fremont, California, was flowing with traffic. Noelle Johnson, 39, rode in a Cadillac Escalade with several others, including 2 teenage sisters. Dang Nguyen Hai Tran, 21, was driving a Toyota Camry. Witnesses reported Tran was speeding and driving recklessly under the influence of marijuana. Near Stevenson Boulevard, he suddenly changed lanes and slammed into the Escalade at high speed. The Escalade overturned violently. A 5-vehicle chain reaction collision followed. Noelle Johnson, 14-year-old Christy Lemus, and 9-year-old Brooke Lemus were ejected onto the freeway. All 3 died at the scene. 5 others were injured, including an infant. California Highway Patrol arrested Tran for DUI marijuana. He was held on $620,000 bail. CHP officer Manuel Leal told reporters, "Driving under the influence, whether it's alcohol or drugs, the outcome is the same. It kills people." The crash occurred months after California legalized recreational marijuana. Missing girl canal. On November 30th, 2025, Kaylee Russell got in her car to visit a friend. She never arrived. The 20-year-old from Ault, Colorado had dropped her father off that Sunday evening. She was driving her black Volkswagen Tiguan south on Larimer County Road 1. Her friend waited. Kaylee didn't show. Her family reported her missing. A massive search began across northern Colorado. Days went by with no trace. On December 4th, 4 days later, investigators found her vehicle partially submerged in a canal. The Tiguan rested upside down in the water. State Patrol reconstructed what happened. Kaylee had been driving 60 miles per hour on a curve with an advised speed of 25. She was texting on her phone. She failed to negotiate the curve, drove off the road, and plunged into the canal. She died from blunt force trauma and exposure to cold conditions. On February 11th, 2026, toxicology results revealed marijuana was in her system. Impairment was suspected as a contributing factor alongside texting and excessive speed. Cannabis factory worker. On January 4th, 2022, the 27-year-old technician collapsed at work at Trulieve Cannabis Corporation's facility in Holyoke, Massachusetts. She died days later with her mother at her bedside. Lorna worked in the pre-roll production room, feeding cannabis into grinding machines. Workers were covered head to toe in cannabis dust and mold daily. In November 2021, Lorna suffered her first asthma attack after a contaminated filter released moldy cannabis dust. She was hospitalized via ambulance. Trulieve took no protective measures. She returned to work the next day with only paper surgical masks. Weeks before her death, she asked her stepfather to bring respirators from his mechanic job. She was coughing constantly. On January 4th, Lorna collapsed from a severe asthma attack and went into cardiac arrest. She never recovered. OSHA cited Trulieve for 3 serious violations. The penalty was $35,219. Her mother said, "This company took my whole life away from me." Lorna didn't smoke, vape, or eat marijuana. She just breathed the dust. Half-joint heart attack. On October 28, 2013, Gemma Moss, 31, of Bournemouth, England, smoked half a cannabis joint before bed. It was her nightly routine to help her sleep. She was found unresponsive the next morning. Gemma was a mother of 3 who attended church. She had quit cannabis for 2 years before relapsing after a breakup left her depressed. The other half of the joint was found underneath her body. She was pronounced dead at the scene. A post-mortem found no natural cause of death, no abnormalities, no other drugs, only moderate to high levels of cannabis. Coroner Sheriff Payne ruled Gemma died from cannabis toxicity, believing it triggered cardiac arrest. She became the first woman in Britain officially attributed to cannabis poisoning. Cannabis advocates disputed the finding, arguing a lethal dose would require 20,000 to 40,000 joints, but the official verdict stands. Rat poison, K2. They were bleeding from everywhere. In March 2018, dozens across Chicago and central Illinois arrived at emergency rooms with uncontrollable bleeding. Gums, noses, eyes, blood and urine, internal bleeding. All had used synthetic cannabinoids, K2, spice, fake weed sold at convenience stores. Health officials determined the products were laced with brodifacoum, industrial rat poison. A 22-year-old man from Chicago bled to death. A second man in his 20s died the same way. Then a third victim in his 40s. By mid-April, over 107 were hospitalized. The outbreak documented at least 4 deaths and 153 cases across 8 Illinois counties. 3 convenience store clerks were charged with selling contaminated products. Similar warnings issued across 9 other states. 4 dead, 153 hospitalized, from fake weed laced with rat poison. Teen CHS death. On October 24, 2018, at 5 a.m., the 17-year-old told his mother he couldn't breathe. She rolled him over. He was gone. Brian started smoking marijuana at 13. He became a heavy daily user. On April 7, 2018, he called his mother in panic. He couldn't stop vomiting. At the emergency room, his kidneys were shutting down. His liver was failing. A passing doctor diagnosed cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. After rehydration, he was released with little information. His mother convinced him to stop smoking, but symptoms persisted. Not knowing CHS continues after cessation, he started smoking again. By October, Brian had lost over 40 pounds. "You could see his bones," his mother said. That morning, Brian told his mother he couldn't breathe. The coroner attributed his death to dehydration caused by cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. He was 17 years old. First-time smoker falls. Hamza Warsami had never smoked marijuana before December 5, 2015. The 16-year-old Somali-American student from Seattle had a perfect grade point average. He was bound for MIT. He was deeply religious. That Saturday, Hamza entered an apartment building on Capitol Hill with 2 friends. They went to the 6th floor and smoked marijuana. It was his first time. Within minutes, Hamza began acting panicked and disoriented. He stepped onto the balcony and attempted to jump to an adjacent rooftop. He didn't make it. Hamza fell 60 feet. Paramedics arrived within minutes. He was transported to Harborview Medical Center. He died from blunt force trauma. The medical examiner confirmed marijuana intoxication as a contributing factor. No other drugs were detected. He had no history of drug use or mental illness. His death sparked the Justice for Hamza movement. Hundreds attended his funeral. He was a boy with a bright future who made one mistake. He was 16 years old. If this was informative, consider subscribing so you don't miss future content. Thanks for watching.